Of course, here on Rising, we've been covering the allegations of sexual assault leveled at Joe Biden by Tara Reade. And we interviewed her on this show. The Biden campaign, of course, denies these allegations. But one of the aspects that we have covered extensively is the blatant hypocrisy of the way that this story has been covered, the standards it's been held to, versus past sexual assault allegations, most notably those leveled at Brett Kavanaugh, some of which were more credible, Dr. Ford, some of which were completely bogus and ultimately debunked, like Julie Swetnick, but they were all given credence and credibility and immediately reported on by the mainstream press. So we have a new addition to the lineup of shame of people who were all in with Dr. Ford all the way against Brett Kavanaugh, but who now find Tara Reade to be not credible, to be troublesome, as Joan Walsh now of The Nation puts it.
That's right, Joan Walsh. I mean, this one is noteworthy because, look, you expect this from the New York Times. Not expect this, but maybe you do. If you're, you expect this from the New York Times, if you're as cynical as I am. You expect this from NBC and all these other organizations. But this is The Nation. I mean, this is Joan Walsh, who's a notable leftist, and you would think that
she's not a leftist.
Well,
she's not a leftist. I mean, she's a Hillary person. She's an Elizabeth Warren person. You expect better from The Nation. I don't expect it from Joan Walsh. But go ahead.
So there you go. And then she writes, quote, "the troublesome Tara Reade story." And the subhead on it is "left and right-wing Biden haters demanded the media investigate her sexual assault charge. It did, and uncovered many reasons to doubt." And she runs through, of course, she goes after diehard Bernie Sanders supporters, Katie Halper, for being the one who breaks the story. Now, look, I mean, we've covered this, all the Russia stuff, saying one thing, not being able to corroborate it, others saying that they don't remember it. However, Tara Reade, by these standards, did tell her brother at the time, who recalls it, told it to Rich McHugh, the journalist who originally investigated Harvey Weinstein, who we spoke to, told it to Ryan Grimm, told it to the New York Times. Okay, these have been verified as these things go.
Right.
Well, what did she write whenever it came time for Brett Kavanaugh? We have that tear sheet right in front of us, which is that she wrote the heart-wrenching story of Christine Blasey, heart-wrenching trauma of Christine Blasey Ford and the Brett Kavanaugh hearing. It's difficult. It hurts. It's unfair. Women will keep telling our stories.
Yeah, but unfortunately, if those women accuse a man that you happen to be supporting for president, you may not support them in telling those stories. I mean, just to go through a few things here, and then we'll get to Katie Halper's great response to Joan and the back and forth they had on Twitter. But first, she sets it up by saying this originated on the left from diehard Bernie Sanders supporter Katie Halper. Okay, Katie is a Bernie supporter, but never is it revealed that Joan is a diehard Hillary, Warren, and now Biden supporter. It's always, the ideology is always placed on the Sanders supporting left, but they're just the neutral observers just calling balls and strikes. Okay. Then she goes in on, her story changed. Well, listen, if you have actually spoken with survivors, as Rich McHugh, who we interviewed here yesterday, who talked to survivors of Harvey Weinstein, he said, of course their stories change over time because they're not comfortable at first sharing the whole story. It's not that they change, it's that they don't come forward with the entirety of the story at once for very understandable reasons. That's then going to be associated with your name and Googleable forever. You may not know this reporter. You may not feel comfortable putting all out there because you're going to get smeared the way that Joan Walsh is smearing Tara Reade right there.
Yeah.
Number two, this one really bothered me. So Tara says that she did not tell the office about the full extent of the sexual assault allegations, but that she did file a sexual harassment claim through a Senate personnel office. Well, those claims have now been archived with the University of Delaware, and guess what? They're sealed, so no one can get them. Joan's way of phrasing that is that no record of that sexual harassment claim exists. Now, those are two very different things.
Correct.
That the records are under seal and that you don't know is a very different thing from saying there's no record. But she wants to do everything she can to dismiss this claim. And of course, she goes into the stupid Russia thing, which has her views on Russia have nothing to do with what happened in 1993. She finds every victim shaming, red flag throwing tactic that she possibly can, which is exactly what the right did to Christine Blasey Ford when she was on the complete opposite side of that. And the hypocrisy is just stunning.
Yeah, it's just about power for these people, which is that, look, Joan Walsh should just say, yeah, I don't believe her. Or she should say, I believe her, I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden because it's lesser of two evils, as we say. Fine.
At least that'd be an honest position, because those are your choices.
Consistent position.
Yeah.
Actually, like a lot of people vote that way, and I think that's okay. But this is part of the issue, which is that she is going out of her way in order to gaslight people and give them an excuse to say Joe didn't do it.
That's right.
No. It has to be consistent.
And it's because of complicity of people like Joan Walsh, who did not want to hear this story earlier in the process. Because remember, Tara, people can say, why now? Why is she coming forward now at the last minute? She has been trying to come forward. And Time's Up, the very organization that is supposed to help women like Tara, wouldn't take her case because it had to do with Joe Biden. They were supposedly worried about, losing their nonprofit status. If her story had come forward sooner, then Democrats would not be faced with this terrible choice of having to pick between two people with credible assault allegations against them. Katie Halper was not having it with any of this.
She was not.
Let's put up some of her response here. In particular, as I mentioned, Joan sets this up by accusing Katie of being a diehard Bernie Sanders supporter, which, again, Katie is a Bernie Sanders supporter, but that's used to dismiss her as completely unobjective, when in fact, I think, and I was thinking about this the other day, now that the story has been reported out by the New York Times and other places, I actually think it really backs Katie up, because they didn't uncover anything of significance that undercuts this story. The Russia stuff, we asked Tara about the Russia stuff.
I asked her about it.
We asked her about why the story now versus the more limited portion of the story earlier. So I actually think all of the reporting that has happened has really vindicated Katie in the seriousness with which she approached this to begin with.
Yeah, but they just say supporter in order to dismiss that reporting, because nobody else in the media can actually do that job until Bernie drops out, and then they're like examining the allegation. The whole thing has just been a giant revelation that the mainstream media is an arm of establishment Democrats. They only act in their power. They always have. And in this particular case, they finally have taken the mask off. So in a way, we should thank Joan Walsh. Thank you for showing much of a hypocrite.
Showing your true colors.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Many people are revealing themselves right now. All right, we'll have more when Rising continues.